What's up, Team Tackle? This is Coach Matt. Before we get into morning action, very quickly, just a special shout out to everybody who joined Master Trader yesterday. Master Trader was absolutely amazing. We had a tremendous amount of fun, and we learned a tremendous amount as we went through trends, pattern, support, resistance, detailed of indicators. We went through prepping trades, placing trades, Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, you name it. You can catch the replay for this month only in the link in the description below. And while you're there, our next webinar in the virtual conference season for tackle trading is the Tackle 25 system called the Tackle 25 Covered Calls. We're going to be doing that next Monday. So you can hit Master Trader. You can watch that this week. You can join me for the Tackle 25 next week. Once again, hit it in the link in the description below if you do want to join that amazing webinar next week as well. And check out Master Trader. Now on to the stories here today. Kind of a laid back day in front of some major reports coming out tomorrow. And I think that's the best way I can describe the market here today as the market this week. Doji yesterday, slowing momentum candle here today. And why that's kind of interesting to me is the market's in a little bit of open air here. And the market is not really driving that momentum up to the top side as of yet. And when you see the market breaking out and then hesitate, well, technically, you see that as obviously hesitation, right? You see that as a lack of momentum. But it's interesting because of the backdrop of open air here, which tells me that the market could be waiting on something. And when you talk about the market potentially waiting on something, well, you got the major economic report tomorrow. So today we got some decent news out of the China-US trade wins. Today we got some decent news out of major companies, but and quite frankly, out of some minor economic reports. But in general, there's not a report out there this week, and I'm talking not just in the US, but internationally as well, that is as important as the CPI report this week. And so tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we get the CPI report, and then the next day we get the PPI report, which is not going to be as important, obviously. And so the market could be showing a little bit of hesitation here. Nothing negative. Doji here at the top, seeing a little bit of upward movement in price. It can be interesting to see if the market does catch a little momentum later on today. But as of right now, market does seem to be hesitating just a little bit in front of that CPI report tomorrow. Further news out there today, Ethereum's on breakout watch as they try to recover after a pretty nasty sell from last week. We'll take a look at that here in a second. Apple has their one of their developers conference here today, and they underwhelmed a little bit on the AI side of the equation. They just do not have the ability to develop the same as some of those other hyperscalers out there. They did have some pretty decent updates on the new Vision Pro features, gaming upgrades, Apple Music enhancements. See, Apple is the king queen of service, but they're not the king, queen, and country of developing R&D, research and development. They changed after Steve Jobs left. Well, they didn't leave, but you obviously know the ending conclusion of that. You do get my point that Tim Cook kind of changed that at Apple. And we did see that a little bit in their developers conference here today. We also saw a downgrade out of McDonald's here. This is not the first downgrade this week out of McDonald's. And the rationale of the downgrade was interesting. GLP-1 drugs, the weight loss drugs, seem as an issue for McDonald's right now. Consumer fatigue on price hike after price hike after price hike. That's kind of what the analysts warned out there. We'll take a look at their technicals. And there does seem to be a little bit of a truce happening in the saga between the richest person in the world and the most powerful man in the world, as President Trump comes out and publicly supports Elon Musk a little bit, says he has no plans to cut off Starlink, called Starlink a wonderful product, and said he wasn't going to dump his Tesla, not the shares, his Tesla that he has on the White House lawn. He's not going to get rid of it. There was some speculation of that. That's good to see that simmering down, quite frankly. We don't need that type of stuff in America. Now, let's talk about the technical side of the equation here. As I was talking about, let's go around the mark. We already talked about the S&P 500. Two commodities I want to highlight here today. We'll take a look at Ethereum. Crude oil's breakout of 64, highlighted last week, discussed last week, continuation here today. Do not paint me surprised in any capacity. We upgraded crude oil coming into the week because of the breakout of 64. We've been anchoring to that. And as this breakout does take hold, you're going to have to take a look at some of those energy stocks as they are breaking out here today as well. Keep an eye on 86. That's another technical level for the energy stocks, but a good breakout following what we did see on crude oil last week. You're seeing that follow through on the energy stocks here today. That's some good movement. We'll have to see if we see that continue. But as of right now, got a good reversal along going in the crude oil side of the equation. No reversal in silver. Just wanted to pull it up because we are talking about major breakout from last week and a little bit of continuation saga this week. I always say if you missed the breakout, and at Tackle Trading, we dialed this one in quite a bit. We talked about this one a ton. But if you did miss the breakout, you always want to wait on that secondary development of that secondary pattern. And 37 certainly could play a role in a little bit of a high base, whether it's a 2-day high base or a 3 or a 4 or a 5. You never know the time frame, but you do know you're overextended to the top side here. Probably need to see a little bit of further development. And so whether you're talking about a base and a break, or whether you're talking about a pullback scenario, that's kind of what you're looking at as of right now on silver. So crude oil with a decent reversal playing out. Silver with some momentum playing out and looking at a potential secondary pattern. We talked about Ethereum with the potential breakout here. Good recovery on the crypto space in general over the last couple of days, as last Thursday's candle really did some disservice on what's going on here today, breaking that 20, showing volatility, perhaps breaking a little bit of trends and patterns there. We saw it on Bitcoin as well, as it gave up the 20-period moving average and got underneath all those shorter durations. As you can see, real good recovery in the last couple of days, real good recovery on Ethereum in the last couple of days. I will say the one that really kind of stands out is the potential breakout of Ethereum here. Ethereum, even though it did kind of dirty up the joint, does have a decent technical situation here to anchor against with the potential breakout. So keep an eye on Ethereum as it fights that breakout channel in the market. And it's got a pretty decent little consolidation going into it as well. Looking at morning action, once again, a couple stories that we need to talk about, McDonald's as well as Tesla. Let's take a look at some of their technical charts. McDonald's, if you are looking at MCD here, testing major support at that 300 level, major support. Not only is it a significant whole number, it's a 200-day moving average and has played a role, but it's playing a role against 3 downgrades, quite frankly. And so you're going to want to be patient if you are looking at McDonald's. That could be a little bit of a stay away in the short term, quite frankly. And then Tesla is fighting to recover after last week's just bloodbath in the market, back up above that 200-day moving average yesterday. Little bit of a gap up here today. Certainly we'll need to see some degree of secondary pattern on Tesla as well. That's all we got for morning action in terms of the stocks in the news, the major news out there. Let's talk about that trade idea here today. Coach Frank, every single day in morning action, puts his top trade idea. And today he's looking at Core Scientific, CORZ. Let's go take a look at CORZ from a technical perspective, see what old Coach Frank is looking at. And what Coach Frank is looking at and what we're looking at Tackle in general is a few mid-tier opportunities. And what I mean by that in a mid-tier is you got your pure reversal situations. That is the low tier on the chart, mid-tier on the chart, top tier on the chart. And so you got your reversal situations that play out at the bottom end of the chart. And a lot of times traders miss that. A lot of times traders miss that because it comes out of nowhere. Not everybody's tracking reversals. I talked about this in Master Trader yesterday. And oftentimes traders will find it. They'll find it on a scan. They'll find it through, people talking out there a little bit further down in the trend. And that's where you get to in a mid-tier. And we call it mid-tier because oftentimes this runs into resistance historically. And we like to look at this through the lens of multiple time frame analysis. When you come into a resistance zone that is a known resistance zone that has acted as resistance in the past, and now you're currently fighting that same resistance level today on the daily chart. So you got weekly resistance, then you have daily resistance, and that plays out here on Core Science. And so when you look at that 13 level, old pivot point, old pivot point, resistance, resistance, resistance. And so 13's acted as resistance multiple times. So let's not be too surprised that it's acting as resistance today. What do you need to see? You need to see a breakout on top of today's price action, looking pretty good on a potential breakout out of that mid-tier opportunity when it comes to core science. Thank you, Coach Frank, for finding those amazing picks for us. And once again, if you love morning action, make sure to give it a like and share. And if you are ready to come hang out with us in the Tackle 25 covered call webinar next week, hit that link in the description below, and we'll see you there.